So let's jump in to our teaching that we have today. We begin with Kesser Shem Tov, Mem Tes, 49. And the tzaddik says like this. This is actually a layover from last week's shir, where we didn't get a chance to finish this last piece. He says, Be'inyan machshavos, when it comes to thoughts, Yesh kama mina machshavos tovim v'roim. Like everything in the world, we learned this last week in different contexts, it's a mix of all different kinds of things. Tov, some the opposite. Says the Baal Shem, but ultimately these two things are not separate realms one from the other, right? Ki hadua, like we've been learning a lot from the Baal Shem Tov, how everything is one, right? It's the ultimate gilui of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's achdus, where there is no duality. There's just unity. There's just unity. So he says, fine, a person will have thoughts that are good, a person will have thoughts that are not so good, but remember that even within the not such good thoughts, there's something good there, right? And that's the doctrine of halas amidus. Remember, we learned that if a person's davening, you have negative machshavos zara that come in. A person can be conscious, mindful of what those thoughts are, identify the nakuda of holiness inside of it, and elevate it, channel that energy, right? We called it like a turbo boost for your tefillah. It's not there to get in the way. It is the way, right? On the contrary, it's there as a tool to be used, to be mined, to be tapped and channeled. So he says over here in this context, "Ubesoich sheker yesh emes." Every sheker has a little bit of emes in it also, and this is true on a simple level, right? On the level of you can always sense, like there's always truth, like they say to every joke, and a person makes a joke, but there's something behind it. Even if a person lies, but usually it's a reflection of something deeper, that a person doesn't come out from nowhere. Nothing comes out from nowhere, right? So there's something at the core of that. And a lot of times, generally speaking, even in today's narratives in our post-truth world, something could be 99.9 sheker, but there's always a bit of MS. There's always a bit of MS, and usually there's a bit of sheker in MS as well, and there's a bit of MS in sheker, because this world is post Eitz Hadas Tov Ra. That's really what it is. The Eitz Hadas Tov Ra is the confluence of good and evil, because das doesn't just mean in this context knowledge of, but it means intimacy, right? Vayeda Adam Eschava Ishtay, right? It means to connect. And so the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra is the tree of connection between Tov and Ra. And says the Baal Shem, sheker yesh emes. In every sheker is emes. And in the derech of the Baal Shem Tov, he says, the way that we know that is because ki mispar sheker is taf reish. The gematria of sheker is 500. Ubay muvla emes. Shehu taf mem aleph vahavin. Right? And he says 441. That's pretty wild. Go back to our shir from yesterday. Not getting into that now, but I'll tell you after. That's actually pretty amazing. Inside MS is right, not inside MS. Inside sheker, which is 500, is included 441, right, which is MS. And so on the level of numbers and numerology, right, the aleph beis being numerals that are underlying literally the whole reality of the world. It was created with the letters of the Torah. That was created with the letters of the aleph beis. It was created with gematria. So no problem. So included. That's lesson 1. how to use this, right? Don't kick the table. So included within the gematria of sheker is already MS, right? Again, sheker being 500, MS being 441. So already included in it is MS. And this is just a remez, right, to the fact that more broadly inside every sheker you can find a little spark of MS. Vahavin. Okay, I understand this well. Okay, we turn to the next piece, and the rest of the pieces are a bit complicated. He says like this: Me'al Baal Shem Tov. Ininat tefillah b'chutz la'aretz. Davening in chul. What does it mean to daven in chutz la'aretz? Because tefillah is really Eretz Yisrael. The whole thing of Eretz Yisrael is tefillah. Ki beisi beis tefillah yikar l'chol ha'amim. Right? Manora hamakam hazeh inzeh ki im beis elikim is hashar shamayim, the Zohar Kadosh. Right? All the tefillahs from all over the world go to that place. Go to that place of the Kesser Maravi. They all go up through that place. Huh? No, the Kesser Maravi. The Marsa Machpelah is the door to Gan Eden. That's something else. I don't, unless I could be wrong, but I think Zeshar Shemaim, Ki Beisi Beis Tefillah is the Beis HaMikdash. Yeah, that's the place of prayer. So what's the inyan of davening in Chutz La'aretz? So Ha'ikr, he says the foundation, you can't move an inch with regard to tefillah during in davening in Chutz La'aretz without the realization, Ha'ikr hu ha'amuna, is the belief sheyamin that Hashem is Baruch Malach Ha'aretz Kavayda. The first thing is Hashem is everywhere. That's like, what's the avodah of living in Chutz La'aretz? This is the avodah, right? There's what to work on here from the standpoint of remembering that Hashem is everywhere, that you don't really have in Eretz Yisrael, because of there it's pashat that Hashem is in Eretz Yisrael. But to live in Chutz La'aretz is to be megala this. According to the Ishbitzer, that's what the Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven were trying to do. That they dafka didn't want to live in Eretz Yisrael. They wanted to live Evar Yardei, right? Because their Giloi was, they wanted to demonstrate Eretz Yisrael is wherever a Jew is Eretz Yisrael. Wherever you are, you're being megala Eretz Yisrael. And that, by the way, is a very Geula-oriented perspective. Why? Because, good morning. Thanks for joining. It's a very Geula-oriented perspective, because La'asad Lavai, Yerushalayim's Kedusha expands to the whole Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael's Kedusha expands to the whole world. And so people, meaning, and there's a very deep connection between consciousness that enables a person to remember that Hashem is quite literally everywhere, right? And Hashem is in Chutz La'aretz, and the emergence of that reality where it mamish is Eretz Yisrael, right? Not just that the person believes that it's Eretz Yisrael, a person considers it that Hashem's presence is here and could be found and could be revealed. But to the degree that people do that, that's exactly the degree to which the Geula gets closer, right? Because the whole Geula depends on each individual tapping into and revealing and activating their spark of Mashiach, right? Which is a consciousness of La'asad Lavai, which is a consciousness of Ein Oid Malvadai and Umala Eretz Deis Hashem Kamayim Le'amachasim. And Mimela, it's like it's what a person believes ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Meaning, if a person really lives with that realization that Eretz Yisrael is in potential everywhere, that actually brings closer the time when it will taka be revealed objectively that the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael is everywhere, right? Because La'asad Lavai, after the coming of Mashiach, again, the Kedusha of Yerushalayim expands to the whole Eretz Yisrael, and the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael expands to the whole world. So this is like an important part of the conversation of everybody who's pushing, gotta move back to Eretz Yisrael, move back to Eretz Yisrael. And at the same time, there's apparently still an avodah in Chutz La'aretz, all the while that this is still a conversation that isn't absolutely 1,000,000% clear, where everybody could literally get back on a plane and just move to Eretz Yisrael, but it isn't so obvious, it isn't so pashut, right? It isn't so clear, as much as to some it's very clear, but to others clearly it isn't. Clearly it isn't, right? Very clear. And so it's clearly not clear. And that means that all the while that's still the avodah, Hashkach Aliyona is directing things in such a way where the people who need to be there will be there. And the people who cannot be there for one reason or another, even if it's just their unwillingness to go, right? So b'mitzias they're not going to be there, or shouldn't be there, right? Means to say there's an avodah for them in Chutz La'aretz. But it isn't a zero-sum game, like some people would have it. If you're not a Jew, if you're not in Eretz Yisrael, and you're holding back Mashiach, and whatever it is, everybody has their avodah. The people who are going to go will go, and they'll feel drawn on the level of their neshama, and maybe chas v'shalom, but maybe it will get super clear for people in Chutz La'aretz that it's absolutely dangerous, etc., etc. Everything's with hashgacha. Hashgacha operates with our natural natiyas hanefesh. Hashgacha operates with our choices. Hashgacha operates with circumstances on the level of the individual, on the level of the klal. And so all the while that's the mitzias, we have to be learning that there's an avodah for people in chul, right? The inyan tefillah b'chutz la'aretz ha'ikar hu ha'amunah. The second piece, the main thing is faith. Sheyamin she'Hashem yisbarach maloi chalaretz kavodai. Person comes to believe that the whole world is filled with Hashem's presence. And when you're doing that, you're mamish bringing the world closer to Geula, because you're revealing the Shechina. The whole thing of Galus is that Shechinta begalusa, the Shechina is in Galus, right? And a world of atheism, a world of secularism takes over, covers over the presence of the divine with all of the implications of that worldview, where a person isn't plugged into the fact that there's a creator and that this whole thing is a wonder, this whole thing is a miracle. There is no such thing as teva, it's all hashgacha. There's no such thing as the self, it's all chelik al-kamimal, it's all mission, it's all for others. So all the while that a person is not in that mindset, it's galus hashchina. A person's choices, a person's thoughts, words, actions serve to cover over, conceal, and further fortify the appearance of a world which is less din less dayan, where there's no judge, where there's no elikim shayfit baretz. But to the extent that a person is a mamin and is believing the Malachal Arts Kavaydai, we're revealing the Shechina. Revealing the Shechina. The Gam, and another part of the avodah is the Gam Yamin Miyad, Kishi Yatsami Piv Nusachat Tefillah, that a person should come to believe that no matter where you are in the world, whether you're in Eretz Yisrael, whether you're in Chutz La'aretz, the minute that you speak the words of Tefillah, Mashashayal, whatever you ask, Miyad Hunane, you are answered. Miyad. Miyad. A person says something, a person davens for something, you're immediately answered. V'chitema, when a person will ask, it's not always so obvious. A person davens, sometimes your tefillah is not answered. All of us have experienced that. So says the Baal Shem, no, that's not a raya that your tefillah wasn't answered. Ha'inyan hu, the answer is shu behela mimenu. It was answered, but it's hidden. L'mashal, for example, maybe in davening for refuah for yourself, you contributed to the general refuah in the whole world. You don't know, right? So you thought you were davening for yourself, but maybe for yourself, it's not good. Klape shmaya, from Hashem's perspective, for you to have chas v'shalom, not you, but for a person to have a refuah shalema, because that's what that person needs for the tikkun of their nefesh, of their guf. Hashem knows what's best. Toiv Hashem lakol. But from our perspective, refuah is a good thing, and a person goes and rightly davens for refuah. So it's not that the tefillah isn't answered. Your davening, your fa'enu, opens a window to bring down healing to the whole world. Hagam shebepratasum avakesh, right? Even though he was asking on an individual level, a haser atzar, that the pain should be removed, over emesu l'tayvasai, but it's all good. Because it's really good for him. Either to erase a person's sins as a kapara, kiyotze, or any other calculation that Hashem has. That Kabbalah teaches. We're going to get to this in the next piece. Kabbalah teaches that the three dayanim, so to speak, the root of the three dayanim is Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, are called the dayana, right? The three dayanim, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, in Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferes. These three elements are the three dayanim. One dayan argues on one side, other dayan argues on the other side, and then the third dayan, which is Tiferes, will either be noited to the yamin or noited to small, based on how the sort of the balance of energies of either chesed or gevura, of the mitzvahs, averis, all the different calculations that go into it. But the Sifrei Kabbalah remind us that sure, the din that's meted out through Elikim, channeled into Tiferes, then down into Malchus, right, and comes into this world, it may emerge from Gevura, right? Because Gevura is the one that's always sort of leaning toward, Chas v'Shalom, toward the side of severity and harshness and punishment, and din is Gevura. But where do the three Dayanim themselves come from? The three Dayanim themselves come from Bina. Right, Olam Chesed Yibane. Bina is the womb, so to speak, and the emergence of Chesed Gevura Tiferes. So it means even what's Bina? Bina is Mamish Rachamim. Bina is the motherly womb. Bina is the place of growth, of nurturing. Bina is the place where every detail is seen as combining to form a greater whole, which is the light of Chachma, right? But the light of Chachma shines into Bina. Bina is the place where every stray element is bound up with all the other elements into a wondrous master plan that's all good. Bina is a place of total rachamim. And so even the three dayanim, right, even the midah of gevura, which is the din, that's the dayan rather, that's paskening harsh judgment, it all comes from Bina. Right? And that's telling us kol mata avid rachmana litav of it. It literally all comes from tav. It all comes from taiv. So everything is for the person's best. So ki im yesh bekavana she'eltai she'elasai she'metzapa she'ananai machnes gufanias b'terch she'elasai shayiroi she'irak beruchni. However, if a person davens in such a way that they are putting gashmias into their request where a person's tefillah was supposed to be much higher, right? That they're davening for health, not sam for health, that they should, be able to, whatever, play the football match later. But they're davening that they should have health to serve Hashem properly, that they want to devote their life to doing something mamish proper, what they were supposed to do, because they're a soul, they're not a body, all right? And they live in this world for a limited time, and it's just a bit of a journey, and a person wants to daven in such a way that their spirituality should be fortified, but a person doesn't daven in such a way. It was never the intention to daven for their body, for this worldliness. So it could be that that's what put up a barrier that prevented the tefillah from being answered bepratos. Meaning, lu yitzur, let's say that even klape shmaya, from Hashem's perspective, it isn't good that the person should suffer. But you have to daven in the right way. Stam asking that a person should have health when our intention is not on spirituality, that could make a barrier that prevents that prayer from getting answered. Ayos that we prayed, but that itself could put up a barrier. We have to pray in the right way. So if the person would have prayed to say, Hashem, I want to serve you properly, I want to be able to learn properly, daven properly, teach properly, do whatever, be a good husband, a good father, a good friend, whatever it is, a person davens properly, then he would have been answered. But this, that the person didn't daven with the right intention, put up a wall, says the Baal Shem, that doesn't mean that the tefillah doesn't get answered. It just means that it didn't get answered in your life. But every tefillah brings down energy to the world. I mean, from this perspective, there is no tefillah that is wasted, chas v'shalom, that's ineffective. There's no holy desire that gets lost. Every tefillah has an impact, and this is a level deeper than sort of just, even though it's a big hasaga, that like God answers every prayer, but sometimes the answer is no, right? Which is deep enough, that's an amazing thing, because that's what emunah really means, and that's what tefillah is. Tefillah is emunah, right? So you can't have emunah just lahaga b'boker emunah. It doesn't say lahaga b'boker chazdecha. The ikra emunah is beleilos. You have emunascha b'leilos when things are dark. And we don't understand why what's happening in our lives is happening. That's the ikar of emunah, So that's very deep, to believe that Hashem said no, and that's also good. But over here, he's adding another layer, that even when Hashem says no, from the standpoint of our own tefillah, which may either be good or he's bringing in that it might actually be our fault in a certain sense because we didn't have the proper intention in our davening, still. Every tefillah is effective. You did something. You davened Shachris just now. You said Rafa'enu, Baruch Aleinu, and so on. You brought down megadoses of spiritual energy to the world, even if we don't feel it per se. That's an incredible thing. Incredible thing.
You mentioned at the beginning the concept of being in Galus, being in Chutz La'aretz, not being in the right time. Do you mean to say that it's almost as if the Geolah has to first be personal Geolas before they can be a general Geolah for the
For sure. That's one of the core teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, that every person is a chelik of Mashiach, and the Mashiach HaKlali, right? The Mashiach is the sum total of the activation of the whole Jewish nation, and ultimately the whole human race, which is like Adam Kadmain. It starts with Adam and it goes back to Adam. That's basically the whole thing. It starts with Tekiah, who he said, Shvarim Trua, and then it gets back to Tekiah. Everything has to get back to what it was originally, right? And that's what it is. Adam Elyon, right? Adam, David, Mashiach, Adam, and it goes back to Adam, Adame. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you said a story. I think it was with the Tzemach Tzedek. He had a chassid that really wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, and he told him Machda Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
Which is I'm sorry, I can't.
I did see him hate that story. Aye.
But it's
gives them a headache, that story.
Then there's the danger.
But remember, right. Meaning, remember that was the Tzemach Tzedek for one particular chassid. So it's hard to abstract that for everyone. So I tried to be a bit more balanced in the beginning to say both are true. right? That means the chevra that are going to go will go, and they have to go, And the chevra that feel al chibas Eretz Yisrael, and that's their avodah and their whole thing, and they're financially capable and everything else, like they have to go. Obviously, that's part of the tikkun. There's no question about it, right? The thing is, if we can snap a finger and force every single Jew all around the world to go, and then Mashiach would come, lav dafka.
Well, just like we have to bring our own little Mashiach to bring the big Mashiach, so we have to kind of, it's like little puzzle pieces, make here Eretz Yisrael, highlight, and then that brings the whole the real Eretz Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael.
Elevating sparks. The Geula from Mitzrayim happened when all the sparks were elevated. You can't force it. Ani Hashem be'ita achishena. Hashem is already achishena. He's speeding it up. But be'ita, it happens when it happens. So we're definitely very, very close. And the coming back to Eretz Yisrael is, in my tiny opinion, it seems obvious that that's a part of it. That we're, it's the end of time. We're coming back home. There's no question about it. But it's a very dynamic process. There are many moving parts, different aspects. You didn't need to be there. You didn't need to be here. And hopefully we won't be here for that much longer. Hopefully we'll have elevated the sparks. And Hashem will make it clear to us one way or another, if He isn't already starting to make it clear. Hashem Yishmar Aleinu, that so Hashem knows what He's doing. You know what I'm saying? But we don't tamper with His plan by coming up with extreme measures. With this it has to be like this. It has to be like that. We don't know anything. What anything has to be. All we know is what's happening. What's happening has to be. Because that's what's happening. That's what we see. What we see is Hashem running the world in this natural way, and bit by bit, we're getting there. B'ezras Hashem. Okay, let's go back inside. Right, so this could put up a wall. L'chach avamesach mavda v'chuli. V'zeh shekatzav yisi Yaakov raglov. The pasuk says Yaakov lifted his feet. Shu raglei hashchina. It's talking about the Shechina. That's called raglayim. Right? From the standpoint of being the lowest part of the body, the Shechina is the part that's, we're machnes the feet into the shoe. I think we said in a shir recently, right? The shoe is physical, the shoe is the Elam Hasiyah, the shoe is the body. The raglayim is the Shechina, that they go into the physical. Right? So the raglayim are the bechina, ragleha yardas maves, ragleha. Right? Ha is feminine, that's always the Shechina. Raglayim is connected to the Shechina that goes into this world. So Yaakov Avinu elevated the Shechina. Vayisa Yaakov Raglav. Yaakov elevated the Shechina. How? Through Emunah, which is connected to the heart. Like the pasuk in Tehillim says, Chizku v'yametz levavchem kol hamayachlim l'Hashem. All of you who hope to God, all of you who believe that there's something deeper happening in this world. Right? Chizku v'yametz levavchem. It strengthens the heart to know such a thing. A person gets courage, confidence. Kol hamayachalim l'Hashem, which is another code word for hope, for emunah, for hope. Right? Tikva, emunah. And that's how the Medrash Rabbah says, Shenasu libay mishuhuftach. His heart lifted his feet. That's what Rashi brings from the Medrash. Vayisa Yaakov Raglav libay nasas Raglav. His heart lifted his feet. Says the Baal Shem Tov, what's the Pnimius HaTorah of that? Right, so we have the pasuk Vayisa Yaakov Raglav, and then we have libay nasas Raglav. What's the side? So Raglav is Shechina. So Vayisa Yaakov Raglav means that Yaakov elevated the Shechina. Rashi telling us his heart lifted his feet, which we now understand as the feet is the Shechina, the heart is Emunah. Says the Baal Shem, that's actually what's being communicated here. You want to elevate the Shechina with your heart, Emunah.
So what did you say about the feet and the shoes?
We said that the Shechina.
The feet is the Shechina and the shoes.
No, the feet is yes. The feet is the Shechina and the shoe is the guf. The shoe is Elamasiya. Yeah. Oh, gorgeous. I'm sure that's the site of that.
We say with Shalosh Regalim.
Yeah, Raglim Avaser. Raglim Avaser.
How beautiful your feet in your shoes.
Mamish. How beautiful a physical world that's illuminated with the light of the Shechina. Gorgeous. Ta'ir Eretz Michvaydacha. We don't want to do away with the world. We want to reveal the Shechina within the world. Adarab, that's the whole tikkun of the Olam Hasiyah. Dira b'tachtainim. It's not to do away with the feet. It's gorgeous. Ma yafu, pamayich, ban alim daika. Right? Raglim avaser. This is the footsteps of Mashiach, the ikvasa de Mashiach. All of this is one thing.
In the physical
world. Yes. Right, to reveal the Shechina here. That's the ikr.
In Chutz.
Even in Chutz La'aretz. Everywhere.
It's a great chiddush.
Yes, it's a greater chiddush, right? That's the ikr. That's the ikr emunah. That's what he said. It's not a huge chiddush to reveal Hashem's presence in the Holy Land, right? Yeah, but here to be able to live with that, that's mamish bringing Mashiach. And Hainu Hach, all of these are different symbols for the same idea, elevating the sparks, right? Activating our Chelik HaMashiach, revealing the Eretz Yisrael that's latent here, but just not on the level of Olam Hazeh, but on the level of Olam Haba. This is Mamish Kedushas Eretz Yisrael, right? It's just concealed, right? Because right now, Kedushas Eretz Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael, but Asid Love, like people don't understand it. The whole Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael will expand over the entire world, right? So yes, there will still be something holier about Eretz Yisrael, but even in Eretz Yisrael, there are Sarah Kedushas, right? Deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until you get down to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Everyone should move into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Why wouldn't we want to be at the? And the answer is there are different avodas for different people. Different avodas for different people. And so the Iker Chiddush of the Gilui for us now, this doesn't mean tomorrow it won't be something else. And every person, of course, has to counterbalance this understanding of the special mission that we have to elevate the Shekhinah here, along with of Yerushalayim Ir Chabarachim Tashuv 3 times a day, along with Vaviyin L'Shalom Arba Kamfas Haaretz L'Artzenu, along with Selachinu Kamimiyas L'Artzenu, along with yearning for Eretz Yisrael. I mean, you can't have one without the other. When a person has a full-throated, full-hearted yearning to be back, and a person works on that, and then for one reason or another, Kitzer, he can't right now, in accordance with whatever, machshavas that he has, advice that he's getting from Rabbeim, whatever it is that each person is in their own situation. The point is, then it's not b'diavad, right? Then there's a l'chatchila here. And this goes back to generally the concept of Ein Od Milvadai, where everything is l'chatchila. A person's having success, it's l'chatchila. A person's failing, again, as long as it's authentic. Right? That's the whole thing. If a person's being authentic with life, a person's genuinely trying their best, a person's genuinely striving, then whatever the result is, that's beyond our capacity to control, right? Meaning whatever Hashem is doing in the world, l'chatchila. And there's an avodah there, and that's this balance, right? To hold these two things at once. Now, to have one without the other, then how do you know? Maybe your taka should be in Eretz Yisrael, right? And the person in Eretz Yisrael maybe should be in Chutz La'aretz if you don't know this. Maybe that would be a factor. And how many people would have saved their lives and the lives of their children, and I'm saying a controversial thing now, if they would have stayed and not moved to RBS, in 1980 and lost all their kids, because of the culture gap. And who knows? You know what I'm saying? Maybe if they would have known this idea of the lechatchila aspect of being able to balance all different factors to know, what is paramount and what's lesser, and what is chayav liot and what's not so much. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? But then you'll tell me, but they moved in a chanamis, and now that was also l'chatchila, because apparently they had to move, and all their kids had to go off the derech. You understand? It's a pre and a post mentality. Pre, we try to shoot l'chatchila for everything. Post, everybody of it is also l'chatchila because it happened. This is emunah. It covers both of these bases. A person has to live with both of these things every single moment. This also relates to, once we're getting into it, and we'll finish in a minute. This goes back to, the pshuscher, the katzker, say it in the name of a few tzaddikim, in one pocket, b'shvili nevra olam, one pocket in eichel for veifer. To put it in other terms, bitachon and ishtadlos. To put it in other terms, yediyah and bechira. It's all one thing, right? It's all one thing. Before the maisa, you go with your full, b'shvili nevra olam. Ishtadlos, as if it's in your control. You do the best that we can. Then, the way that life unfolds, beseder. Right. Meaning Adarabah, it's a lack of emunah to then kvetch about how this is not good for your Yiddishkeit. Like that, no, that is not good for your Yiddishkeit. That means that something's missing. But all the while that a person proceeds with whatever is and sits with it and says, this is from Hashem. This is from Hashem. This is from Hashem. So then Gewalt. So then it's everything's okay.
I had this with Rabbi Victor Miller I had recently.
Yeah.
Some election he was going to, everyone should, I think it was him, everyone should vote for this person, everyone should vote. Afterwards, they were asking him, it doesn't matter. The result's not important.
It's all Hashem. This is this incredibly delicate balance that we're striving toward. And again, I want to point out, and this will mamish finish, it goes back to what we said before. everything I just said in this year doesn't change a thing for anyone, right? Meaning, again, whatever you were drawn to do, you got to do. Whatever you were not drawn to do, so you're not drawn anyway. But the point is that it justifies whatever it is that a person's feeling, and it infuses it with infinite significance, right? If you were drawn to go to Eretz Yisrael, go, and that's your avodah and gewalt. We'll have 20 shiurim about the holiness of Eretz Yisrael and what you can get there that you can't get here. And if a person's here, we'll have 20 shiurim about what you can get here that you can't get there. And that's the emes of it. It's not stop trying to make people feel good. That's called monotheism. That's called ein od milvado. Hashem should bless us that we should all do our avodah and do what we're doing, which is our avodah, but besimcha and with dveikus and with emunah, and realizing wherever you are, you're in the lap of the divine. Okay.
ואתה האב שלי שכל כך אוהב אותי, האב שלי מלך חי וקיים על כל נשימה